If Elon is able to get access to government data, if he's able to put his own servers in there and he has access to government data and he has a server, imagine a server that has access to IRS data, that has access to Treasury data, that has access to Department of Energy data, that has access to Department of Defense data, all in one spot, all on one server. If I was an attacker, if I was a foreign adversary, that's a gold mine.
Hi, I'm Maddie, Hale, and welcome to the Trump Report. Today we've spoken to Eric Cole, a former CIA hacker and a cybersecurity expert. He has shed some light on Elon Musk and Doge and whether it's a risk, whether they're opening up this can of worms of having access to Americans' data, to potentially to their social security, to their IRS accounts. So how much of a risk is this? How much of a risk is it to have Elon Musk at the center of where everything is, where all America's data is, and how much of a risk is that for foreign actors to gain access to just one man? So look, he thinks this is another Edward Snowden situation on steroids. So we're speaking to him all about the risk and all about whether Russia's going to take advantage of this. So all that today on the Trump Report. Eric Cole, former CIA hacker and security expert, thank you so much for joining the Trump Report today. It is a big week, especially now that we've had this interview with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, all about the role of the Department of Government Efficiency and how it kind of fits into this new administration. But it hasn't been all sunshine and roses for the Republican Party. They're copping a lot of backlash for this in a general sense. Now, Democrats are furious. They've written to Donald Trump's chief of staff. They say that Elon Musk's role is a conflict of interest and it's a national security risk. So what are your immediate thoughts to that?
So the thing we have to remember is Department of Government Efficiency was really created in the name of making the government more efficient. It was really created to how can we limit waste, reduce unnecessary staff. But right now, it seems like with the Trump administration, it's really focused on access to data. It's really focused on getting as much access to information or data as possible. And the reason why this is problematic is Elon showed his real colors on Monday with releasing his AI agent, Grok 3. You got to remember, AI agents are based on data. The more data you have, the more effective these are. Now, Elon already has access to all of our private data with X. He has access to public data. And now the question is, why does he want so much access to government data? And to me, the reason is so he can feed it into his AI model and make it as effective as possible to basically predict and understand what's happening in America.
But why would, as a taxpayer or someone whose data and their details are in front of Elon Musk's eyes, why would that be concerning for you?
It's concerning for me is, do we really want the richest person in the world? Do we really want somebody who's trying to control and manage all our information to have access to our private data? Do we want them to have access to our social security numbers? Do we want them to have access to government spending? And the bigger issue, as you alluded to, is right now, government efficiency is in the terms of urgency, quickness, and bypassing security. They're going in and installing their own private servers. They're going in and bypassing security protocols. So to me, if he wants access to data, there are rigid security protocols in place. The IRS requires any new employee or any contractor to go through extensive background checks. This often takes 9 to 12 months. They have to sign NDAs. They have to sign secrecy agreements. They have to sign confidentiality agreements, and they're put under robust training. Right now, we're looking with Doge. These employees of Elon Musk are getting access to IRS data with no background checks, no security protocols, no training, no access, and they're taking processes that normally take 12 to plus months, and they're doing it in 12 days, which to me raises huge security concerns that government efficiency shouldn't be urgency, and it shouldn't be at the expense of our security measures.
So for anyone listening that's not aware, as you pointed out, Eric, Elon Musk said it's basically imminent timing before him and Doge do get access to the IRS system. Now, this is, as you pointed out, quite a huge risk, to the point where former IRS Commissioner Mark Everson, he told CNN that when he was working in the job, he never saw any of those systems directly, stating that it was very unusual for a political person or group to have access to the IRS integrated data retrieval systems, which obviously is the taxpayer data system, their own bank accounts. Now, as you are an American, so as a taxpayer, you see this Doge group of Elon Musk and his employees gaining access to your taxpayer system, your data, your bank account details. Would you be worried?
Absolutely. And this is one where I'm almost in a little bit of a conflict of interest, because I'll be honest with you. I believe we need government efficiency. I believe there's tons of wasted information. So at one level, I am totally behind Doge and Elon Musk. I think having someone like Elon Musk, who knows efficiencies and optimization, looking at our measures and making them secure is a good thing. However, not at the expense of my privacy and not at the expense of my security. And as you mentioned, the government has been created to have separation of duties. There's a reason why IRS data is not access to State Department or Treasury data. There's a reason why each department is separate, it's run independent, and no one person should have access to all that data. You want to go in, and if somebody wants to target the IRS, they have to go through a lot of rigid protocols. And if they break in to the IRS, there's separation of duties where they can only get access to certain information. And then even if they do break in to one server at the IRS, they can't get access to Treasury or others. Now what we're doing is we're taking down all those checks and measures. We're taking down all that separation of duty, and we're basically saying one person, Elon, has access to everything. He has access to all of our IRS data, all of our Treasury data, all of our State Department data, all of our Department of Defense data, which now means from an attacker's standpoint, if I want to break in and cause harm to this country, if I'm China or Russia and I want to cause harm, I don't have to no longer try to break into IRS and get access to one piece of data. All I have to do is target Elon Musk. All I have to do is target his servers, and now I get access to everything. So if you want government efficiency, you can do that without getting access to my taxpayer data. If you want government efficiency, all you need is the general budget. Or if I want to make the IRS more efficient, all I need is to know is what is their spending, how much are they spending, and where are they spending it on. There's no reason for government efficiency that you need access to my Social Security data, that you need access to my payment data. So to me, they're going too far. And the question we have to ask is why? Why does Elon Musk want access to all of our data when it's not needed or required for government efficiency?
Exactly right, Eric. It's the $1 million question, and it does put a target on Elon Musk's back. It's just one guy now, and there's obviously so much transparency with Donald Trump and Elon Musk's face in the media talking about this, but sometimes you do question, is it too much transparency? Are you laying too much out there with the media? But there's been so much focus on political agendas over efficiency and over cybersecurity. I wonder if the Biden administration had done this and implemented a government efficiency role in the same way and done exactly what Elon Musk would have done, would the Republicans be angry? Would they be upset that their Social Security, not that Donald Trump said that Social Security perhaps won't be targeted, but all of their data would be collected? Is it politicized?
Absolutely. I mean, this is absolutely a political issue where it's no longer government efficiency. There's now political agendas. And you just nailed it, which is if the Democrats were trying to do this, the Republicans would have flipped out. They would have gone crazy. And we actually saw a little bit of this. What Biden tried to do is he tried to increase the number of employees at IRS. If you remember about 2 years ago, he went in and wanted to double the number of agents, and he wanted to do it by bypassing security measures. Biden wanted to bring on over 1,000 new IRS agents within 3 weeks, bypassing all the security measures. And the Republicans went crazy. They said, you can't do that. You need to follow security protocols. It takes 12 to 18 months. You need to follow the measures. And Biden essentially bypassed it, and the Republicans flipped out. Well, once again, on the surface, Trump is doing the same thing. Now, he might be doing it for different reasons, but he's trying to bypass all these security measures. And here's the other thing to remember. If you go back over 8 years ago, or I guess it's more 12 years ago, when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, and she was putting in personal servers at State Department. Both sides flipped out. The Republicans flipped out going, you can't put personal servers, you can't control the data. And she got a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pushback for violating security patrols. Well, guess what? Elon is installing private servers. He is going in and putting his own servers there so he can control and manage data. And somehow now, when it's a different party, now we're looking the other way. But the reality is installing private servers by citizens on government data sets is a bad thing. And when it was done by Hillary Clinton, it was bad. And when it's done by Elon Musk, it's just as bad.
The narrative is flipping, Eric, but I think with the Biden administration, he lost a lot of respect for the way in which the IRS had handled investigating his son, Hunter Biden, for those tax crimes. So I think when it comes to Biden's kind of reputation with handling the IRS, it was gone before he tried to implement more workers in the IRS because of that investigation where basically these two whistleblowers came out and said that it was a botched investigation and it was always handled to the benefit of the president's son. But moving on to the part of the interview where Elon Musk and Donald Trump are talking about the staffing of the Doge and who's working there. He said there's about 100 young people in T-shirts working in the government of efficiency, which is basically just cutting government spending. Elon said some of these employees are on government contracts while some are not. Elon said that he's also actually just working for free. But I want your thoughts on what you think about who is working in this government efficiency cutting role. If these people are too junior, they should be more senior. They should have experience working in the government.
So essentially what we see happening right before our eyes is Edward Snowden on steroids. If you go back and look at the Edward Snowden incident, he was a young employee that didn't have the proper background checks. He thought he was justified in giving away government information. He thought he was justified in breaking the rules. He thought he was justified in putting out public information, and he had access to critical sensitive data. And he violated the protocols and caused severe harm to the U.S. And he's still actually in Russia with the United States trying to extradite and prosecute him. We have the same thing going on here. We have young, eager individuals that don't believe the government is being run correctly. They don't believe the government should have classification processes in place. And without checks or out balances and out somebody checking on them, we are giving them access to all of our data. And the question is, what are they going to do with it? And how are they going to expose America? Because right now it seems the Department of Government Efficiency is about violating security and making information public. Well, if they're going in and taking all of my tax data and all of my government secrets and making it public, that is problematic. That's Edward Snowden happening all over again. And we should be very, very concerned about why do we need such inexperienced people? Why do we need people that don't believe in democracy getting access to our data? And what are they going to do with making our data public?
Eric, to play devil's advocate, do you understand the belief that perhaps right now the government needs less bureaucratic, less Washington polished employees to be looking at government spending with fresh eyes and with not a lot of experience of how things get done?
Absolutely, because if we're talking about government efficiency, we really need somebody who understands business, who understands the government and how it works. If you have somebody that's never worked for the government, never worked for business, and has less than 5 years experience, how in the world are they going to be able to determine where there's excess spending? How are they going to be able to determine that budgets are overlooked? We need people at a much higher level who's worked for government, they worked for business for 15, 20 years, and they understand what's needed. They understand what's required. So to me, if you're taking young, really high-end programmers that know how to get access to data, and you're putting them into these departments, the focus is really on access to data. It's not really on government efficiency. The focus is on how can we get access to data and make it public or available to Elon. And to me, this is where we should be concerned. It's no longer Department of Government Efficiency, it's Department of Government Access. It's Department of making data public, and that should be concerning to us. Because if they were really focused on government efficiency, you would be having 35 and 40-year-olds with business experience. Now that the fact you have programmers that don't know business, they know access, it should be concerning on what is the real agenda, because it doesn't seem like government efficiency is what they're focused on.
Eric, so far it seems that Doge has reportedly, according to the Trump administration, saved about $55 billion in taxpayer money when starting a Doge, and the aim is to cut about $1 trillion, and this is all to do with trying to cut this federal deficit, which is at a record high. Now, Elon Musk says basically if they don't do this, the United States will go broke. What is your greatest concern about the methods that they're using in order to reach this goal of cutting $1 trillion?
And this is where we're really starting to see the conflict of interest, is they were able to go in and cut trillions of dollars already just by looking at the general budget information. Elon went in, he looked at where money was being spent, and he was able to determine loss. And in what 3 weeks, they were able to cut billions of dollars of waste, and they're willing to do that. Well, here's the reality. That's all you need for government efficiency. You don't need access to the data. You don't need to install your own servers. You don't need 1,000 engineers. I can look at a congressional budget report, and I can see that $100 million is being sent to a foreign country. I could see that that's a waste. I can go in and look at a government report and see that we were spending $20 billion to foreign countries to plant seeds, to go in and do silly extraneous tasks. And most of the current cuts are with foreign expenses that were unneeded. You don't need access to my taxpayer data to do that. You don't need access to classified information to do that. You don't need access to Department of Defense proprietary top secret data to do that. You just need high-level information. So my question is, without access to IRS data, without access to Treasury data, Elon was already able to cut billions of dollars. He was able to identify trillions. So the question is, why do you need to install your own servers? Why do you need to put young people in there and get access to IRS data? There's clearly a hidden agenda where they're able to cut spending without getting access to our data. So the question is, why do I really want access to the data? Because clearly Doge has been doing a great job at government efficiency without having access to our taxpayer data.
So right now, from your experience as an expert in this field, Eric, how easy would it be for a foreign actor to be hacking into the US systems?
It would be trivial because there's two reasons. One, everyone is so focused on trying to gain access to data that they're ignoring security protocols. They're ignoring security measures. And if I was Russia or China or any foreign adversary, I would be right now targeting the IRS, because the reality is they're so focused on cutting jobs. They're so focused on fighting Elon. They're so focused on getting access to data. Who's really watching the security? Who's really monitoring the security? Who's really looking at the security? So now that all of our measures are trying to gain access, we're asleep at the wheel. So that's problem one. Problem two, if Elon is able to get access to government data, if he's able to put his own servers in there and he has access to government data and he has a server, imagine a server that has access to IRS data, that has access to Treasury data, that has access to Department of Energy data, that has access to Department of Defense data, all in one spot, all on one server. If I was an attacker, if I was a foreign adversary, that's a gold mine. I no longer have to target IRS and only get IRS data. I now can target one server. I target Doge, and I have access to everything. So this is creating a major security nightmare where now all of our data is in a single location at a single spot, bypassing security, no security measures, and that could cause a major issue because here's the reality. What are the security measures of Doge? We already saw Doge website get compromised. We already saw Doge website have improper security. So if those are the same people that are storing all of our data, that is problematic at so many levels.
Eric, just a final question for you. What do you think right now is the biggest national security threat facing the United States?
The biggest threat right now facing the United States is cyber attacks from foreign countries. We already know that we're being targeted. We've already seen foreign adversaries break in to different departments, break into State Department, break into our critical data on our critical servers. So the biggest concern right now is data privacy is a train that's leaving the station and never coming back. The reality is PII, that stands for personally identifiable information, is a thing of the past. PII is now not personally identifiable information. It's public information. It's public data. In the United States, our social security number is used for everything. My social security number is assumed private. And if you know my social security number, you can access my bank account. You can open up credit lines. You can access my data. Well, guess what? With all of the things that are being done by Doge, we now live in a world where our social security numbers are public. Our social security numbers are known by everybody. And unless we create new laws and new regulations of how can we uniquely identify individuals, the fact that the unique identifier is public creates major privacy issues both today and in the future.
Do you think that right now, while these negotiations are going on between Russia and the US about how to end the war in Ukraine, do you think that Putin is biding his time to launch a cyber attack on the US while they're distracted trying to broker this peace deal?
Actually, I think we're even farther ahead of that. I believe right now, Russia already has access to our servers. They already have access to critical infrastructure. And I believe the conversations that are going on right now between Putin and Trump is actually this. Putin is like, listen, we're already in your systems. We're already in your electrical grid. We're already in your water supply. Trump, if you don't cooperate with us and you do what we want to end the war in the Ukraine, we will launch a cyber attack. We will eminently cause harm and damage. This is like the arms race with nuclear weapons, but at a different scale. During the arms race, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, both sides had nuclear weapons, and both sides could destroy the country and the world. Well, this is basically Cuban Missile Crisis, where Russians have access to our critical data, we have access to their data, and basically Russia's saying, you cooperate, or we're going to cause severe damage from a cyber attack. And this is why I think you will see Trump actually reach a resolution with Putin. He will be the hero for ending the Ukraine war. But at what expense is it at to the privacy and protection of our cyber infrastructure?
God, it's scary stuff. Eric Cole, thank you so much for your expert analysis today on the Trump Report.
Oh, my pleasure.